Dude, we are live. Awesome, man.
You got an echo?
We do I have an echo? You know what, man? Hang on.
Technical difficulties already.
No, I think we're all right. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I'll just let the echo go. Hey, listen, man, we are here with the retired.
No,
Oh, you're not retired.
no, man, I'm greedy. I'm not retired
Semi,
yet.
semi,
I've been
semi.
semi-retired for decades,
Yeah.
threatening to retire.
Yeah.
The
Well,
continuously threatening to retire.
yeah. All right, man.
Yeah.
But soon to be.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. That's good, man. And Dan O'Connell, a sociologist
Mhm.
from Delaware, from State College, man,
From State College, born and
where we
bred.
met.
Well, not born, but yeah, grew up here.
Dan was a student in Social 19 back in 1990,
Nin-
1996.
96, I think, and then
Yeah,
in 409 the following
yeah,
year. And
yeah,
then you and I co-taught a course
yeah, that's
that you
right.
couldn't even teach anymore.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
right, man.
people just be like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
We taught, so Dan was you were, how old were you when you were in my class?
Dude, don't make me do math. Probably 33, 34, something like
33,
that.
34, child of a Penn State professor,
Yeah.
and you had to go sow your wild oats, and which you did through your entire youth, and then finally went to school, and then ultimately got your PhD in criminology, sociology,
PhD in crim. Yeah, PhD in crim. Yeah.
and then you went down to University of Delaware for your PhD. And
Yeah.
I said back then, I said, dude, wherever you go for your PhD, they're going to keep you there. They're never going to let you go. And I was right,
You
man.
were right. Part of that was just being lazy, and because I was a little bit older than most people. Like
Yeah,
most people,
yeah,
anymore people go like, high school, BA, MA, PhD, right
yeah,
through,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they've never had a job.
Yeah, I know.
Some
And
of our
then
students now, I'm like, dude, have you ever like worked a cash register or waited tables?
and then they go teach, right,
And
at a
then they go teach
university
about the
level.
world.
They've never done a damn thing except be in
Everything you need
school.
to know about academia right there.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true because I'm doing a disservice to our graduate students. So a
Yeah.
lot of our graduate students have been around, shall we say. We've got a quite diverse group these days.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
I always tell students, God, don't go to graduate school right away. I mean, I did myself, but I was not on the student track, my whole young life. So
You're not on
and,
a track.
and I wasn't on any track. But anyway, you stayed so here's the thing. So you're not that much younger than me. You're just 3 years?
I'm 63 right now. How old are you?
Oh yeah, I'm almost 66. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're two and a
Yeah,
half
you're
years.
practically dead. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I know, man. God. So Dan, as an undergrad student, I don't know, I got asked to teach this drugs class. It was called narcotics trafficking.
Was it?
Yeah, that was the
Okay.
actual official title. And
Okay.
I got in trouble for it. So I said, hey, dude, why don't you teach this class with me?
Hmm.
These other students, they have no idea that you're actually an undergraduate student because you're a
Right.
little older, so let's just assume you're a graduate student. And you didn't really interact with a lot of folks in the program. And no one, so anyway, we co-taught I put your name on the syllabus, we
Yep.
co-taught the class. The
Yep.
department never knew. They had no idea.
We had a ball.
Yeah.
We had a
And we
ball.
thought, like, my God, if there's anybody, and then we changed the title instead of
I
drug
think it was the drug
trafficking.
war in America is what we
Yeah,
ended up
yeah,
calling
it
it,
was
right?
narcotics trafficking was the official title on the
Right.
books, and
Right.
I changed it to drug war in America.
Right.
And I thought, okay, who would I want to teach this class with?
A
If
drug
I could pick
dealer.
anybody in for you, you had a lot of experience with drugs, and
Could be said, yes.
yes,
Especially wild oats.
and
I
that was
sowed some.
yeah,
Uh,
starting probably at a young age. When did you first smoke weed?
First time I smoked weed,
Yeah, how old were you?
dude, it was the last day of seventh grade. I remember it.
All right, I was in sixth grade.
Yeah, last day of seventh grade. Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Ricky Ellenberger brought weed, and we smoked weed
Yeah.
in school too. So I went
In
to school
school.
high. Even worse, I was suspended that day, and I had in-school suspension.
And you got
So I had to go to like sit in the principal's office because they already hated me.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, deviance precedes drug use. If all the drug use causes deviance, people just let it go, man.
Right, right. If you use drugs, you'll become a deviant. It's like,
yeah, no, that's
it's
not the model. That's so not the model. So I had to go sit in the principal's office the entire day, and we smoked out, and I went in there high as a kite, and I'm sitting in the principal's. Yeah, it was surreal. Like,
That's awesome.
and I never looked back. You know, I just like, wow, I'm just going to keep doing drugs.
You know, for me, the first time I smoked, it was with my brother. He said, "Follow me," and we went out behind our garage, and he pulls this pipe out. He's like, "Here, smoke this." I'm in sixth grade, and I was 12.
And it's your older brother, right? So of course you're doing it. You're like, yeah, man.
Yeah, all right, But then I didn't, but I didn't really start engage smoking till I was probably in eighth grade. I didn't really begin.
Right. Yeah, same with me because yeah.
Okay, so anyway, going back to this class. So Dan, I'm thinking, so we get to know each other and we become friends. And I'm thinking, I got to teach this class with Dan because Dan, by the way, I'm going to look right in the camera on this, just was effing brilliant. And I knew he was brilliant. And I knew he was more brilliant than I was. And I'm like, I just got to teach a class with him, man. So we co-taught it, changed the title, and I got in trouble. A year later, some guy was using that title on his transcript was narcotics trafficking, but he had the syllabus that said drug war in America, and I got called down to the principal's office.
Were you high?
The department chair. I was not.
Were you high?
No, I wasn't. The associate chair, she said, "What's this?" And I said, "Well, that's the title." I said, that's not the title. The title's narcotics trafficking.
That's what's in the system. That's what's in this. And changing the thing in the system is impossible.
You wanted me to teach the class. I couldn't do that, I guess. So I just changed the title. It's like, you don't run your own university. You can't do that.
Apparently you do.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, we did.
So anyway, so Dan goes off, does his thing. We stay connected. Anyway, continues to be. I've been constantly on you to. It'd be really nice just to have a weekly conversation online because
I keep saying no.
Yeah, he's saying.
Oh, which, by the way, before we go any further, just so like, here's how my day went. I called Sam at 9:30 and got his voicemail, and he texted me, "Call you in a minute." At 11:30, he calls me back, and I'm like, "Yo, bro, are you in town?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm around." I was like, "Cool, let's get together and hang." He said, "Great. Matter of fact, why don't you come be on my live stream at 3:00? So my prep for this was, what's the word I'm looking for? Zero. So yeah, here we are. But anyway, I thought that was pretty funny.
Dude, all right. So listen, man. First thing up here is this article on the Hooters says, "Bring."
Can they see the? Can they see?
Nah,
they can't see the thing.
I don't.
Sam's reading the New York Times, by the way, for all you people that didn't think he was brainwashed.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me look there. So there it is. We got a really nice shot of a Hooters waitress with all these young boys from a baseball team.
Yeah, these kids are like, what, 12?
They're probably 12. They got smirks on their faces. They're just like, so.
Wait, do any of them have woodies?
Look at that. The river dogs.
They're,
I don't even know where it is, but the chain known for skimpy uniforms and bikini nights is trying to change its image. But the image is still the same. Bro, when you see that, just like your sociological mind, first off, Dan, by the way, Dan is one of these guys he's definitely not woke. And Dan is always, well, are you awake? You're awake.
I'm awake.
All right. You're beyond woke, right?
I'm so woke, I'm asleep.
But Dan, it's because you have such an interesting takes on things. So when you see that,
I think everything's alive and well in America
right there.
right there.
For all
You
those
guys
young-
can't see it. There's a blonde woman with a low cut thing. She's very well endowed. She's got the Hooters, very short shorts on, and she is sitting with two standing. They're all standing. 2, 4, 6, 8. Probably, I'm saying 12, 13-year-old, maybe 14-year-old boys. And the headline is Hooters says bring the kids. And I'm
Hang on,
kidding that I don't know that that's.
I'm gonna.
Oh, you're gonna screenshot it, right? Right.
I'm
'Cause
gonna put it-
it'll
yeah,
make
put it-
more sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And part of what this tells me is that sex sells.
Yeah, for
Because the
sure.
Times is running this. I bet they get a lot of clicks on this. In fact, Sam decided we would start talking about this story. Let me just pull up my New York Times app. So the headline in the Times is Lebanese resign to a long war, even if U.S. and Iran make a deal. Residents watch as Israeli warplanes circle over southern Lebanon. Trump says political pressure will not sway him during Iran talks. Global supply chain shortages deepen. Conyers defeat fuels tensions. Yeah, a blue Texas maybe more than a dream, blah, blah, blah. So, but Sam goes to lead with big titty blondes. So
Wait, hang on.
everything's alive and well in America.
Hang on, I gotta send this to Jeff. Holy smokes.
But
Jeff, I'm gonna send it to you and you're gonna put it up, all right? Because we gotta. No, I really want to get there.
actually, make that the banner for the for today's
All right,
live
Jeff.
stream and
Jeff,
see how
I
many
did-
clicks you get.
I just texted it to you. All right. So you can put that up on the stream. People can say, seriously, when you see that, like, what? Like, for me, I don't have a judgment. But sociologically speaking, like, I'm not sure it's that different. Like, I mean, it is different, but it's
Different from what?
from what it's always been.
No, that's what I mean. Everything's alive and well. You like this is
what life is.
that picture could be from 1950.
Yeah.
It could be from 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990,
Yeah.
right on up through, and it's in today's.
Yeah.
So some things just kind of, I think this is more psych than soc,
Yeah.
because sexuality, attraction, all that kind of stuff that we sell. There's a reason that stuff sells, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
in those
you
kids,
know,
the boys there
Yeah.
are as likely as not to be from Christian families where their parents go to
sure.
big mega churches and
sure, I bet it's a mix.
it's not.
I mean,
yeah.
they do represent the river dogs. So
Yeah.
hats off to the river dogs, wherever they may be.
Yeah. For
uh,
a reason, people are able to separate these things. Like say the people that would critique that are able to critique it, but yet if their own kids, boys, were going to that, somehow it just would be okay. Like for example, my the number of people who I know who suddenly are using gummies, are using medical marijuana to help them go to sleep. I mean,
Oh my
the people
God.
who are 100% against drugs and so on are suddenly just
Is marijuana a drug?
Use a gummy.
Is it a drug anymore?
I guess it's
Like the bad drug list, if you will,
yeah. Yeah. Well,
I go back. Okay, so you and I taught the course, right? Because that's where you started, right? So we taught drug war in America, right? And we had these great debates in the class, right? Should marijuana be legal, right?
Yeah.
And like half the students were like, no, it shouldn't be, and the other half were high at the time, and we're like, yeah, it should be legal right now. And you can't even have those conversations, man.
Yeah.
Those conversations are gone.
Yeah.
Now it's like, should we legalize heroin? And should we like legalize much harder drugs? And the drugs and the weed we smoked. Well, I don't know if you still smoke or not. I'm not going to ask you that on a live stream.
You know what? Here's
the weed we smoked when we were kids is not the same as the weed is today.
Okay, so I
That's
used
for
to
sure.
critique that, and I used to, because I remember when I think I was 17, 16.
You remember? So you really weren't smoking.
Yeah, I wasn't so. Actually, it was before I was driving. I was 15, and my buddy got some Thai stick, and I remember doing. And this was, considered back in the day. It's like It's like Coors, the Coors beer of weed. Even though Coors, I grew older and realized Coors sucks. But when I was young and you could only get it in Colorado, it was the beer that everybody wanted to have,
right. It was
instead
the
of
cool
drinking the
thing.
Pabst and the Strohs, which is what we drank. But anyway, so I had Thai stick, and I remember I did a huge bong hit, and I was hallucinating, from the Thai stick. So I'm 15 years old, right?
Hmm.
I remember hallucinating. Anyway, I've been critiquing my whole life. I mean, like this idea that weed's much stronger now, and again, do you remember that I was going to do this research? I was trying to pull you in on it, but you were working on your PhD. I wanted to study um,
I remember this.
the effects, like how much you smoke, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not like
yeah.
alcohol,
Not
right?
how often, but how much you smoke when
Yeah,
you
it's like it
smoke.
doesn't really matter. Once you get
Right.
high, you're high. Like
Yeah,
you can't,
yeah.
you just
So,
get like dumber, you fall
so not
asleep or
frequency,
something.
but dosage.
Yeah, it's dosage. But even then, like you get to your dosage and
Mhm.
you can't triple your dosage. You mean have triple the high. You just are high or you're not high. Anyway.
People in the comments critique that.
All
Like,
right, hang on.
is there a can't get any higher point? I mean, the
Yeah,
old
but
thing is high enough
yeah,
to
but it's not
stick,
like,
but
but it's not 3 times as high. You're not going to get 3 times as
I
high.
don't know what that would be. Right.
Yeah, I don't even
It's
know
hard
what
to
that would be, but
quantify.
it's just not possible to
Yeah.
smoke one joint or 3 joints. You're
Right.
not 3 times as high with 3 joints.
I'm
Okay.
asleep.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to go to sleep.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Drink 4 rum and cokes. Well, drink 1 rum and coke.
Yeah, and
Drink
then
two.
drink 4.
Drink 4. You're asleep.
I'm asleep, but I'm 4 times as drunk. Like I'm
But you're
really
asleep.
drunk. Yeah. Okay.
So you may be 4 times as high. You're just asleep because you just,
Yeah, maybe so.
you get to a certain point, maybe your brain's doing the same thing. It's like, dude, I'm out.
Yeah, maybe so. Okay. Well, the point. So I went out to visit my brother. I don't know, it was probably eight years ago on this one particular trip, and he had dab, and I said, just get the strongest dab that you have, and it was
Wait, what's the
97.
dab?
Dab is like when they turn it into wax. You
Oh,
just like
okay.
it's pure THC, man.
Okay. I
And
quit smoking weed in 92. So,
yeah, this is so in 97% THC. And I wanted to try it. I wanted to test my hypothesis.
Right.
Learning about weed today is like, come on, man. So I took a big hit of this. Dude, I was I was high for 24 hours. Yeah.
good high?
No, nah, dude. I
Right.
was like,
Because I remember when the indica started showing up.
yeah, nah, it wasn't
Like
good.
that stuff made like I didn't even like smoking that stuff.
No,
Because it would just make me
listen, man.
stupid.
No, it wasn't good. I remember, and I was testing.
Is this what the kids
myself.
are doing in college these days? Just talking about different strains of weed?
No, they're not really smoking that much
Oh, I
weed.
know. Yeah, dude, this is so weird.
Yeah,
So I mentor grad students, have for many, many years, right?
yeah.
Brilliant people, young, and did I just lean out? Young, energetic, man, all the energy and curiosity in the world and this stuff, right? And we had for the longest time, we had hardworking, hard drinking grad students,
Yeah.
right? Now none of them drink.
Yeah,
They don't drink.
yeah.
They're all total potheads
Yeah.
and all kinds of other like pills and whatnot, but not
yeah,
like
yeah.
not like Quaaludes or like get wrecked pills, but like seeing my therapist kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so it's a completely different kind of thing.
I'm seeing that with
than-
our students. The drinking's definitely. I mean, there's binge drinking. There's a lot of drinking.
Sure.
Yeah, it's changing, man. The alcohol culture is really wild.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
I think
It's
it
like
is.
the tobacco culture.
I think it is. Like alcohol is kind of a bum drug when you think about it.
Even weed, man. Like, we have within walking distance of my house, we have 2 dispensaries for medical marijuana. People just coming and going, coming and going.
Right.
How can
Pennsylvania have recreational yet? I forget.
No, we're not recreational.
Yeah, Delaware does.
And how can you be taking weed? How can you be smoking or taking in cannabis every single day, man? Like, holy shit. So I'm not sure that any of it's really a good thing. The extreme legalization, because you know why, bro? Human beings, this I learned from you, by the way. Human beings are gonna just take whatever they can
They're
take
gonna get
to
high.
the maximum limit, man.
gonna
They're
get
just
high.
gonna go as far as they can go. So it's like, well, we got 30% THC. Well, why not 60? Why not 90? Why not 100?
Hey, we can build a car that goes 50.
Yeah.
Let's build a car that goes 70.
Yeah.
Let's build a car that goes 110.
Yeah.
Let's build a fighter plane that goes at Mach 8 or whatever, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's bigger, better, faster, more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the human condition.
It is. It is. Just so what's the next step? We don't know how to stop. You know,
Yeah.
nobody. We did.
Well, maybe
humans
that's
suck
fine.
at sitting still.
Maybe like the Hooters piece, right? Um,
Well, wait.
hang-
Is there an
hang on.
equivalent to it? Yeah. Uh-oh. Did we break it?
Nah,
Are we being censored?
hey, hey, Jeff. Man, are we good? All right, okay. I'm just trying to like figure this stuff out. I'm seeing a Streamlabs thing pop up, so I didn't know if that was like a thing I had to deal with.
So what's
All
the
right.
thing over there? Because that thing shows me still talking.
Yeah, that's the stream. That's the actual
Oh,
stream.
so there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
delay.
Cool.
All right, bro. Let's go to the next. Hey, Jeff, were you able to put that photo up on the stream?
Well, wait. So I just got myself curious a little bit. So to go back to the
Oh, wait,
Hooters
I can
thing.
put it up right there. Look at that.
Where do we go? What happened?
There it is.
What is it?
That's the photo.
That's
That's
the
the
Hooter
Hooter
shot.
photo. Yeah, that we're talking about. All right. Look at those boys, man. Look at her. She
The
knows.
dude to her immediate left is like, He's. A lot of the rest of them are like, wow, this is kind of cool. This is interesting.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's see what else we have here. Uh, oh, dude. So here's the thing, man. So this is this article from the
Oh my
Washington
God, I've got a
Post.
friend who just bailed Florida.
Yeah?
Just got the hell out of
All
there.
right, hang on, man. This is the article we're looking at right here. What happened in Florida when universities purge all the woke classes.
It's
First
also
off-
it's happening in other states too. It's not just Florida. A friend of mine, another friend is, we'll just say a university in Ohio, not Ohio State. But same type thing, right? So I do. Oh, I just bashed my mic. Sorry about that. We do criminology, criminal justice stuff, right?
Yeah.
How do you teach criminology and not talk about race in America
You
in the
don't,
21st
man.
century?
Yeah, that's
No,
the
they
irony.
have to.
They
They have to teach this stuff
Yeah.
without talking about race. I'm like,
But doesn't this go against some of the people who want to critique the black narrative, which is that like the victimization narrative. I mean, it goes against everything. Like, fuck. Yeah, so how do you do, okay, listen, how do you do, so your question is this, how do you do good sociology?
in this environment,
And without talking about race, ethnicity, gender, social class, all culture, all the things, man. You can't do sociology. It comes
well, that's what I
into
was going to say.
everything.
You said, "How do you teach sociology?" And I was going to say you can't,
Yeah,
because go back to what was if you go back to the very beginning, right? Durkheim and those guys, he was looking at differences between religions.
yeah.
Right? It was the 1800s in France, so it wasn't like there was a large black or Hispanic
Yeah.
population.
No, it's urban, rural, religion, and social
Protestant,
class.
Catholic,
Yeah. And
those types of stuff, because those are the social kind of categories
Wow.
that are either imposed or that people fall into from whatever, and they manifest in different ways. Right?
Dude, sociology is the study of groups
Yes.
and the ways in which our
Groups, right?
group memberships, invisible factors and forces shape our behavior.
That's right.
And invisible factors and forces get organized around different things, including religion and social class and education and all these things. And so you're going to try to talk about anything meaningful about how and why human beings do and think and act and say the things that they do think
So-
and say.
You would almost have to do it from an historical perspective.
All right.
Right? You would go back and read, Durkheim, Weber, and those guys, right? Because they really weren't talking much about race or gender.
Yeah, no, they were talking about ethnicity.
There was ethnicity. So
Yeah.
can you even do that?
But
right?
but it was more nationality
Right.
than
But so if you fast forward to now, the way it is, like the important groupings in our culture,
yeah.
in modern American culture, if you
Yeah.
will, and other cultures too, but I'm most familiar here. Are those, we have gender differences, we have race, we have geographic differences. Maybe you could do the geographic thing.
And
Uh,
increasingly these
you could do
geographic.
political, you could do politics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you could be like the Supreme Court and say, you can cheat for political reasons and geographic reasons. You just can't divide up districts according to race,
Yeah.
or at least you
Yeah.
can't say that you're doing that. So
Yeah.
you have to teach sociology. You go back to what was it, Seuss? Remember the the guys that had there were the animals that had X's on theirs and the ones that didn't have X's
Yeah.
on
That's right.
theirs,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and they formed groups based on that. You would have to. So you go back, you teach it like you would teach it in elementary school is what you
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah.
Um,
It is bizarre, right?
it's utterly bizarre. And someday they will teach the sociology of how we got to here.
Yeah.
And I
this
want to
came-
teach that class.
Yeah.
Uh,
People have a real misunderstanding of sociology. First, there are sociologists on the far left.
oh yeah,
There are sociologists on the left.
yeah.
There are sociologists in the middle.
Are you going to
Sociologists
keep
on the
going?
right.
Because I'm not sure how
There are
many.
not very many on the far right at all.
And why is that?
Because they're not interested in it. They just get weeded out early on.
So
They
is it-
weed themselves out.
Is it a selection thing where the type of people who go into sociology are interested in the type of things that the left is interested in?
Yeah.
And the people that gravitate towards right ideas, well, they're not buying the sociological.
No, they're not buying the
Because-
sociology
Yeah, they're
stuff.
buying, individual, we pull ourselves up by, we're all, just we come into this world and
Well, in part, they take their sociology classes as undergrads,
yeah.
and those classes don't really turn them on. They're not interested in the stuff that's being talked about in the sociology.
So what's that say about sociology?
It says it's definitely on the left. I mean, it's a
Wait, is it?
It's a perspective. Well, look, what's the left perspective? The left perspective says that human beings are in part products of our environment.
Sure.
So we have a free choice and free will, but the free choice and the free will exists within the context of choices that are mostly available to us and we see around us. So therefore,
So how true is that?
it's it's very true, but it's the subtlety of it. I mean, look, for example, you and I, okay, we'll go back to when we were 12 years old, 13 years old, right? And we're smoking weed. We were our sociological environment is shaping that decision. I didn't wake up one day.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I always think when I teach crim, I say people don't wake up when they're 30 years old and decide to go rob a bank.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally not how it works.
Yeah.
It just isn't how it works. And then somebody's all like, my uncle so-and-so walking.
Yeah.
Give me a break. But so, okay, you started at 12, go back. Okay. Because like I said, I was doing deviance. The first I remember shoplifting way before I smoked weed. Right.
Okay.
So there's a shaping going on there. So where did that come from? So you got to keep going upstream.
And you're hanging. Why were you hanging out with other kids who were going to engage in
I have my ideas
Were
about
they hanging out with
stuff.
you? Were you the leader and they were following you?
I have ideas about all of this stuff.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Okay, so but let's take the contrary for a minute.
All right.
Okay, let's go down the hall to psychology, right? Impulsivity is a thing,
Yep.
right? I don't like to use the word trait, but it is definitely a thing that can be measured incredibly early,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
There is a certain, and it's hard to talk about this. I don't like to use intelligence and things like that, but some people seem to be a little more with it than others. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And if
Talk
you pay
talk to a first or second grade teacher and they will tell you that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're like you're the product of your environment, but I think it's an interaction between environment and what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I am not a determinist in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm an utter existentialist when you get right down to it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think you can just carve that product of your environment down to very finite,
Okay, so
almost
here.
to the difference between you and me.
All right.
You
So
know.
listen, let's go to my brother. My brother was very much more impulsive.
Yeah.
Like with his money. If he got his allowance, dude, the allowance was gone in 5 minutes, man. It's on
That's
his
me.
bike, he's down in the store,
That's
he's
me.
gonna that's how he was.
Risk-taking impulsivity, can't see the future beyond the
Nah,
end of my
dude,
nose.
me, from the day one, man, every quarter I got, I had this special place that I had to hide it because my brother would take it. So I would hide it.
So at what age would he start taking it? Do you remember?
As soon as quite young, actually, probably
Okay. So
five,
where
six,
did he
seven.
learn that?
It's just part of it's part of who he is.
Oh, okay.
It's very
Okay.
much part of who.
So are we the product of our environment or what?
Nah, I don't know.
I know,
Because
see, this is just it. Like the worm eats itself or whatever, man.
so here,
Oh,
for example, if it would have been the neighbor kid or one of my friends and said like, yeah, I got some marijuana. Let's go behind your garage and
right.
smoke it.
You
I would
might have
been
responded
"Nah, I'm
differently.
not doing that." But it was my brother who was already in this life, right? And I didn't have a choice. My brother was just like, smoke this. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I have to.
Guess I have to. Oh,
But
bummer.
my friends, I would have said, I would have said, no, I'm not doing that.
Right,
Okay,
right,
so
right.
fair. So I engage at some level, but we're all, yeah, I mean, it's personal choices and it's the realm of choices that are available in our lives, man.
Oh, yeah. So you get dealt your initial hand, right?
Yeah.
Let's do a card analogy, if you will. You get dealt your initial hand. And
Yeah.
I drew the impulsivity card, and I drew the moderate intelligence card,
Yeah.
and I drew the whatever, the ability to see down the road. I guess that's the opposite of impulsivity. Anyway, all these different aggression, they say, is measured very early.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can measure aggression in kids when they're like ridiculously young. Is that forming from their environment? I don't know. I don't know. But there does seem to be
Yeah.
some things that they're at work there. So you get that initial set of cards,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then you start interacting then that environmental stuff starts interacting with your hand.
With that initial
you
set.
start getting, maybe you get dealt the poverty card,
Yeah.
right? Maybe you get dealt the minority card.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you get
You dealt
the
the-
urban or the rural card, the religion, Jewish, Islam, Christian, whatever.
The gender
atheist card.
dysmorphia card. Like I
Yeah,
feel like I'm not
I don't
belong
belong
to
in
be
the
a guy. I
skin
don't belong in
card.
this
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. So you get dealt all those different cards and then
And you play them.
and you play them. Right. And playing the cards has consequences.
Yeah.
So you play your, I was lucky. I got dealt, well, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but I'm professor's kid, right?
Yeah.
I'm a white male hetero, and
Middle class kid in
Middle-class
a
kid.
fairly wealthy small college town.
in a fairly wealthy small
And when you
college.
decided to go back to school, you
Yeah.
got a discount because you got
Yes,
the
75% off.
yeah, which meant, like, you
75%
could handle
discount.
that. Like that was easy.
Yeah, oh yeah. My debt when I got out of college, sit down, kids, was 24 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, okay, so I'm going to go down a side road for a minute, like, because I
Go
work
ahead.
with all these students that have all this debt, but what they really have is a fucked interest rate,
Yeah.
right? My interest rate on my students' loans was 1.9%.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the way it was set up was the government backs, and they still do. The government backs the loans,
Yeah.
right? So there's no risk to the bank, right?
Yeah.
The bank is not going to lose money, so they don't need to cover their loss.
Yeah.
All they're doing is getting paid to manage the accounts,
Yeah.
right?
So when
the
you
deal
in other
was
words, if a student doesn't pay their loan back, the bank
gets their money.
they're going to get them.
The feds pay you back,
Yeah.
right? So it was really just like, you guys run it because we're the government. We know we can't do this. You guys can.
Yeah. But that has
There's
changed.
students now that have 6.5%
Yeah,
interest
yeah,
rates
yeah.
on their loans, man.
And you got $100,000.
You got $100 grand loan, and like all of a sudden it's
And
like,
your major is sociology.
well, that's the key. We can't cure everything. Oh,
Yeah, man. It's fun. Okay, so anyway, go back. So let's go back to the sociologist. So partly the field of sociology emerged as industrialization was really
Yep.
showing all these problems, social problems. We was giving rise, and we were able to see very clearly a wide range of social problems of people moving into cities and adopting these, the lifestyle of an industrialized social order. And so then these academics started coming along saying like, hey, we need to study this poverty, crime, all sorts of addictions,
Oppression,
all oppression, power,
exploitation of, name your group X,
whatever
exploitation everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of different things that needed. And part of that, I think, part of that's communication, right? Because one of the things that came with industrialization was communication.
Okay.
Because you might have been old Sammy Richards sitting over in your little village in England, or where are you from? Like go back a few generations.
Well, the Richard side is England.
England. Okay, so there you are in your little village in England, and you're having some thoughts about, wow, some of this stuff doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
But you're not able to communicate with all the other people that are thinking that. Now, through various printing methods and whatnot, you can. Right. And so part of it was the whole communication thing. So the problems are becoming aware. But there's also the ability of people to discuss things amongst each other, which just really feeds the whole growth in all academic disciplines.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You ever read the book The Information?
What's that?
The Information. You ever read the book The Information? It's called The Information.
No.
Go read it. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
The history of information.
Yeah.
Starting with 0-1, like the Peloponnesian War, the fires are lit, the fires are not lit. 0-1, the first binary single. And it comes all the way up. We were at Wikipedia when it was published. So he needs to update it. I forget the guy's name, but he needs to update it.
That's very cool.
Because now we're in the AI world. But anyway, but a lot of what he talks about in there is the way the growth of information has influenced society as a law, whatever.
Dude,
I lost the thread.
No, the idea is that, okay, so I want to keep coming back to this. So sociologists emerge to look at the field of sociology emerges to analyze social problems. And we see social problems as, of course, well, what happens then, you don't, it's not that you take the side of the victim, but you take the side of the person who's experiencing the social problem.
But yes, okay, you can put
you're telling their story.
You can put it like that. But from the very beginning, the whole idea was to fix social problems.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so if someone is being oppressed, a group of people are being oppressed, right? We don't care if Sam Richards is being oppressed, but if all of the Sam Richardses in the world are being oppressed, right? That's a sociological thing that needs fixed.
Yeah, so the children of the coal miners.
The children of the coal miners.
And around south of Danville, Pennsylvania, for example. Right? They're all dropping out of school at the age of 10.
Okay.
That's creating a wide range of problems for the community because it's like, look, this is...
Or is it? Or are they just equipped to work in the mines?
Or it's like, there you go, man. And you say like, no, we want them to drop out of school.
We've been over on the Durkheim side of the street. Meanwhile, Marx is sitting over there going, no, man, these guys are way more fucked than you guys are realizing. Because the exploitation is intentional and people are benefiting from it.
And it's, for the powers that be, it's a good thing, man.
Well, for some people,
And that's right. Like the whole Geisinger Hospital, for example, that just to say this is something I learned a few weeks ago. The whole hospital is built by a guy that made his money in coal and oil. And he made, because he went to Brazil, he went to California to try to mine gold, and he came back, ultimately made millions and millions of dollars in coal and oil. And he was filthy rich. He made it off the backs of the coal miners and the oil workers. And then he decided, hey, we have to build this hospital for all the poor people who obviously I've made money off of because they've been exploited by the owners of the industry. And so that the whole thing is built around that. It's like, so anyway, we tell the sociologists like to talk about the stories of the underdogs.
Well, everybody loves an underdog. Go to the movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Go to the movies, man.
Yeah.
The underdog, the pretty girl, go back to the Hooters thing, right?
Yeah.
Pretty girls, underdogs.
But here's the other thing. We also discovered
You don't laugh when a little old lady slips on a banana peel.
Yeah, yeah.
When the local banker slips on the banana peel, everybody laughs.
Yeah, that's right, man. And we discovered things like, well, if you grow up in one of these really wealthy families, you're more likely. Look, here we have the data now to show how much more likely you are to be wealthy yourself.
Oh,
and there are all the reasons and so on. Well, that becomes just kind of standard sociology.
right.
And when it goes to the extreme now in the modern age, right, it becomes you sort of take those sort of pinions of causality and you start applying them everywhere, and including that somehow the black family that's worth $10 million is oppressed because they're black. And I'm like, dude, hang on, they're fucking worth $10 million.
Right.
And so therefore, and then that becomes critiqued, and then people start having the critique that this is the absurdity of sociology. It's like, dude, no, it goes to the extreme sometimes because bad sociologists they're not thinking through these things, right? And they're using this causality as like in very black and white terms.
So I'll go you one better.
All right.
Take the black person who has $10 million.
Yeah.
Right.
The family. Let's just
black family that has $10 million.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
First of all, your $10 million is not what your grandfather's $10 million was.
Yeah, yeah, that's
know what I mean? The number of
Yeah.
millionaires running around this planet is pretty big.
Yeah.
And which is ridiculous and is a nod towards some of like capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Because it does produce wealth and some of that does find its way out. But the question isn't, okay, so there's a black family with $10 million, therefore everything's fine. Compare that family to a white, well-situated family with $10 million and see what their situation. So like you need to do your comparisons, right?
And not just one family.
No, right.
Do it with 100 different families.
Right. And start looking at the longevity, start looking at, what country clubs are you able to get into? Like there's still some shit going on. I would beg to point out.
Yeah. We have not completely.
But it's still a way of, okay, you can always
Things have
point
changed.
It's like when I tell the bankers, you don't wake up and rob a bank. Well, yeah, there's always the one guy who does, right? Exception proves the rule kind of shit.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Also, in fairness to, the folks in Florida or Ohio or Texas, wherever, where they're rolling back things like sociology, a lot of the analysis hasn't kept up with the reality.
With
so
the
racism, well, so the discrimination that, like country clubs, for example, right? You raise that as an issue.
Right.
It's entry into country club for your Jewish family is going to be different today.
Oh, yeah.
Than it was 30 years ago.
Absolutely. Progress is being made.
Yeah. But sometimes in the world of sociology, many people are stuck with the old narratives. And that
mass incarceration, huge, terrible problem in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Huge, terrible problem. Oh my God, we got to do something about, are prison populations going up?
Are what?
Prison populations, are they going up in America?
No.
They've been declining since like 2009.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we don't have a problem, but progress is being made.
Dude, listen, we have a problem locally because they want to close down one of our prisons.
Oh my God, we just closed one. Never close a prison. I'm not a prison abolitionist, but we have way too many prisons. We can probably close half of them tomorrow, right? So we closed one, not we, but the state of Delaware closed a prison, a halfway house, a reentry facility in Wilmington, Delaware, right? Everybody freaked out. Everybody freaked out. The people in the community freaked out.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm going like, wait a minute. This is the place where your sons and daughters are being incarcerated and they want to close it.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to happen.
And they don't want to close it because?
Well, a couple of reasons. A, that's where the services are.
Yeah.
Which meditate on the fucked upness of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
for a
yeah, yeah,
minute.
yeah. The services
Right.
like mental health services,
Well, but like
addiction
if I'm
services.
coming out of prison, okay, so I've done 10 years in prison, right? This place was in the city of Wilmington, in downtown Wilmington,
Yeah.
in the community where a lot of these people are coming back to.
Okay.
So the thing was, why are you closing this one? Right? Couldn't you close something else? And the answer, and like everybody's got a different answer. I'm like, whatever. What I was watching was the way that people were responding to it. The Department of Corrections was like, this is an old, dilapidated facility. It costs millions of dollars in upkeep. Our population is down,
Yeah.
right? And I taught in that prison
Yeah.
for many, many years, and the population was way, way down.
Yeah.
You know, it was a place that used to house like 300 people. They were down to like maybe 100.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But you still have to staff it 24/7.
Yeah.
And you have to have medical staff 24. So I get the kind of, oh shit, you know, this is expensive, right?
Yeah.
So it got a little weird. It just kind of blew my brain that type of thing was happening. And the same thing here, they're closing Rockview up here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is
yeah.
Penn State going to buy the land? Do you know?
I don't know. I think it's up in the air, but you know, these
Penn
are
State should buy the land.
so.
Penn State should buy the land.
Yeah. So listen, no, but we're losing those jobs of
Oh,
all the COs
dude.
and all the staff. There's a
Dude.
lot of jobs.
Sociologically
That's the problem.
speaking, right? Or
Yeah.
actually, not even that, just capitalistically speaking.
Yeah.
A lot of these, and like this, see, this one's not even a problem because Center County, Happy Valley can absorb that.
Yeah.
You guys can absorb those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah.
Those guys, they're not going to starve.
Yeah.
You go to like some of these rural
Green
towns.
County, Green Prison here.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. Where the guy who's got the potato chip delivery route,
Yeah.
his
yeah,
best
yeah.
customer is the prison.
Yeah.
The milk people, you know, all these different industries that are relying on that thing. And that's the whole prison industrial complex that people talk about.
Yeah.
And that's real. That's a real thing.
Well, then you got the other side of you know, we're doubling up cellies, man. The cell is not, you know, it's the size of this, less smaller than the wall here. It's built for one person in these old prisons, and you got two.
Like
people.
8 by 10. I think my cell was 8 by 10. And I was, by the way, I sewed some wild oats. Two third degrees. I got the third degree once from a bunch of people, and then I went and got 3 degrees. So
Yeah.
I've done 3 degrees. Never mind.
Wait, did you have a cellie?
Oh yeah.
So but the prison it was built for one person. It wasn't built for two people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a bunk in it.
8 by 10, 8 feet by 10 feet, and there were two
It
people.
had to have been more than 8. It had to have been more, maybe 5 by.
No, but could you reach? Could you stand in the middle of it and put your arms
No.
out and touch?
No, so it had to have been more than. No, it could have been 8 by 10. Yeah, it could have been 8 by 10.
Yeah.
There was a bunk and there was a little room. You could lay on the floor and do sit-ups. I know that.
So I mean, there's an idea. It's like, well, why are we closing prisons, man? We should have one prisoner per cell. Like this is the idea. Well, this is a one inmate per one inmate. So I
You
mean,
want to pay for it? Do you want to pay for it?
No, I don't want to pay for. Well, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I would rather pay for that than.
Well, that's the argument on the other side.
$1.8 billion.
The argument on the other side is they can live 2 to a cell. I was also in a dorm prison where I was celled with like 100 other people, and that's much, much worse.
Yeah.
Right. And economically much, much better. Where you see these pictures where it's just like this big room with bunk beds, you know, down. I think we did not have bunk beds. We were single bunked.
Yeah.
But there was like 100 of us on this big room.
Wow, man. Like Squid Game. Did you
I
watch
have not
Squid
watched
Game?
Squid Games.
Ah, dude.
Remember our conversation about feeding your head with shit?
You've never watched Squid Game.
Why would I want to watch a show? Why would I want to watch a show about a bunch of people killing each other, man? You know,
Yeah.
you just, I don't know.
Yeah, you're odd. You're odd in that way, dude. You're odd in many ways. Yeah.
So that's the one.
But you are
I don't like
so-
Squid Game.
Wow, what's the word? Like,
There's a lot of stuff I don't like to watch.
you're iconoclastic. You're irreverent at every level, and yet you know you don't do the violence thing at all.
I do lots of violence. I'm way too up close and personal with violence.
Yeah,
You know, I'm in prisons all the time.
yeah,
I'm in drug rehabs all the time.
yeah.
I don't need to go home, I've been watching Shrinking because it's heartwarming and beautiful.
Yeah. Watch
And
the Puppy Channel.
not the Puppy Channel. I like comedy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Ian from
anyway,
the chat
I can
asked.
watch violence if it's like fantasy violence,
think I
like an
can hear me.
Avengers movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just so not real. Something like Squid Games is a little too real.
Dude, it was.
I've been told by many people.
It is
I've
pretty.
also been told that I got to watch Squid Games. I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, I kind of don't.
Dude, for you, it is. You've already thought it through. You could have come up with Squid Game as a
Could have come up
storyline.
with Squid Game,
No, I couldn't have come up with that. No. My mind isn't that.
Uh-oh, what are you looking at?
Is prison or jail better, like in terms of food,
Depends.
jobs, etc.?
Listen, man, if you've seen one prison, you've seen one prison. They are all different. They did based on the staff, based on the facilities. You could be in a county jail in a very rich area where there's the best services and everything. You could be, prisons tend to have more services because they're bigger and they're better funded. I think some of the worst institutions are probably city jails and really small out of the way jails where there just isn't any services whatsoever. The prisons are more closely watched, monitored, not inside. I mean, obviously, there are some customers in some of the prisons. That's where the really, 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 quote unquote, bad people end up. So there, I would have to look up the violence statistics. Are you safer in a prison or in a county jail? And I'm not sure because the reporting rates in the county jails, I'm sure, are horrible. You
right.
might have a better chance of getting your ass kicked in a county jail than you did in a prison.
I feel
but
like
we wouldn't know because it never gets reported.
yeah.
The county jail up here was horrible. I understand it's been rebuilt, but
Yeah.
and there's a whole prison architectural study of design going back to like Bentham and the Panopticon and like up to modern layouts of prisons that'll frankly put you to sleep. But
Dude, were you ever in a jail out in California when you were out there?
California, oh yeah, I was in and out of I was in the Santa Barbara County jail
For things you did in California.
Yeah, stupid shit. Usually not paying fines because they would. Especially down in Santa Barbara, we never paid our fines. We were twisted. We were not on the grid.
And that's how they got their money, man. Put you in there.
Is it though?
Yeah, probably not.
Is it
cost
though?
more money than it was.
Yeah. Okay. So what? I owe a $5. Here's what. No, they don't make any money because say I owe a $200 fine, and they pick me up on a ticket because I never paid it. Right? You spend 2 nights in the county jail. They put you in front of the judge and say time served.
Yeah.
They don't get their money.
Yeah.
The cops got to run me down to the jail.
Yeah.
Keeping me in jail
They
doesn't cost
defeat
that
you.
much.
Yeah, the food doesn't cost much. Yeah.
Actually, it's weird. You always hear this, it's cheaper to send somebody to Harvard than put them in a prison. That's actually not true. The cost of feeding and providing medical care for a human being for a year is not that much. It's like less than $10,000 a year.
Wait, so listen. So when we talk about the cost of incarceration, 50, 60, 70,000 a year, the statistics we say, where's that?
It's the statistics game, okay? Here's the thing. So there's the cost of housing and providing medical care for somebody.
Okay.
Right? Okay, that's the cost of locking somebody up.
Okay.
Okay.
Got you.
To put Sam Richards in a jail, it's going to cost this much. Here's
And
the
then
thing.
you could add in some things like electricity.
Well, better. I'll give you one better. You got to build it.
All right.
Okay, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
On a bond issue.
All
Interest on the bond issue. And here's the biggie, you have to staff it.
Yeah.
Okay. So depending on how you count it, you can get to $60,000. Okay.
Right. So if you take the entire cost.
But the logic of the incarcerating somebody is cheaper than sending them for Harvard. You think that if you don't incarcerate that people, you're going to save $60,000.
Yeah, that's
You're
right.
not.
Yeah, that's right.
The only way to save that money is to not build and staff the prison.
So if you go back to the one that they closed,
You have to close prisons.
It's built for 300. It's got 100 people in it.
It's basically costing the same amount of money.
It's cost the same amount of money.
Pretty much.
But you
The
add the
big
extra.
ticket items, The big ticket items were the cost to build it in the first place, the interest on the bond debt that because nobody's got the money to build one of these.
The superintendent of the jail, the lieutenants,
The cert unions are big business, man.
Yeah.
COs, correctional officers in Delaware,
make good money.
You can make bank.
Yeah.
You can make bank.
They run
All
the
the
overtime.
sociologists out there, when you need a job, go down to the local jail, they'll hire you. And truthfully, we could probably use some folks like that in there.
Yeah.
I tell all my students, go be police officers because we need good cops.
Yeah.
We need to take over the policing business.
Yeah.
We do. Why leave it to put sociologists in there?
So you can sit back and think about things.
I took a police management course here at Penn State. And I'll never forget the professor. He was like, here's the thing. One of the things you need in police officers, you need a guy or a gal who can walk into a bar fight and be like, you over there, you sit there, you turn around, put your hands behind your back, right? And those people exist that can walk into that chaos and instill some kind of order. But he said, but they happen to have some other characteristics that come with that package. You know what I mean? Back to the cards that you're dealt, right? So sometimes you need somebody to go in and handle that situation. Because Dan O'Connell ain't doing it, neither is Sam Richards.
Man. No. All these situations whereby, where a cop has to go into that's so incredibly difficult and dangerous and problematic. Yeah.
What's going on in the chat? We put them to sleep yet?
I think 99% of the people would agree with you. The problem, shame that prisons are a business in the U.S. Yeah.
What else would they be?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not.
The problem is we have 1% in addition to 50% bots online, making it seem like it's a problem. Yeah, Jeff, I don't know what you're referring to there.
There might be something
It
happening.
might not be anything you said.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, it is really. Wait, did we finish up the story about the sociologists in
where?
In Florida? The sociology
No, didn't
class.
finish anything. We started with Hooters, and now we're at prisons, and
They were in prison.
All those kids in the Hooters picture are going to prison. I'm a criminologist. I can tell.
Dude,
I can look at it and tell. I can tell who's going.
Because of showing up at Hooters with that young woman.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right. 20 years from now, man, those kids are toast. Man.
It's wild, man. Hey,
but no, the whole woke thing. I mean,
dude,
I joke with we have a lot of young students. That are, and I'm in the sociology department, tends to people that gravitate over there tend to be a little left leaning, back to what we were talking about, and I get into these woke conversations with students. They think I'm like, I don't know, I'm a Fox News or something. And I think I'm actually pretty progressive and left myself.
No, same here.
And there's jokes that you people woke us into fascism. Because every action has a reaction. Right. And so you look at what's happening in Florida and in Ohio, and probably coming soon to a place near you, Penn State. Have you gotten any feedback? Have you gotten any pushback? Or are they letting you run?
No, I'm fine.
You're running. You're running for now.
For now. No. Listen. No, I'm good because my class is really popular among conservatives because I'm willing to ask. No, not because of money. Because I'm willing to get people to ask the questions and ask the challenging questions. So, the kind of questions that you ask all the time. It's like, wait, with 4 students sitting in the front of the room, is racism really still a problem? What are you guys thinking about that? And then me not even responding to what they say. So you put the smartest people
in the room up there.
No, I just picked 4 random people, man.
That was the joke.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just like I'm willing to ask any question that's out
Oh,
there.
no,
It's like,
you
yeah.
remember I took 119, right? And then
Yeah.
when you were still figuring out 119.
Yeah.
Back when 119 was 100 and what, it was 150 of us maybe?
Probably 150.
Yeah.
No, and you took it in the summertime when it was 80, but then you were
Yeah.
a TA for
Then I
it. And
TA'd it, and then we did 409, which was
200.
really fun. Uh,
Yeah, no, it becomes so for me, it's very much very popular among the left and the right, because people don't see me as taking sides anymore.
See, that's a high compliment
No, it's a big
in,
compliment.
in this
No,
culture.
but what happened in the past is when people took video segments of videos out of context,
yeah.
and then they show up on Fox News.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
Yep,
that
yep,
could
yep,
still happen today, but it doesn't because
Well, and
people,
you have a track record. Like, how long you been? At least what, 25 years? Social?
30,
Jesus Christ, we are,
35 years.
dude, we're old, man.
Dude, we are old, man. No, people can still do that, but for whatever reason, they're just not looking at my class for, I don't know what. Mostly because I
Well,
don't say very much
there's
either.
lower hanging fruit out there for your
Yeah,
Fox
yeah,
or
yeah.
Snooze or whoever,
Yeah,
whatever
I
the
don't
local
care.
blog
Yeah,
is.
they're
that's
taking their
like,
eyes
yeah.
off of this
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. You can go find somebody that's easier to pick.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's good, But here, look, here's
Wow,
another.
who's slipping us off?
Hey, Joe Ivanki.
Oh, that's
Hey, Joe
dude, is your
Ivan, man.
mouse like literally a middle
Yeah.
finger? That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Joe's online actually.
Who's Joe?
I'd like to. Joe was a police officer, and he in Los Angeles.
Good.
He reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm watching your class." I was doing the stuff on police and
Welcome aboard, Joe. Thanks for being here.
yeah, and I was doing a lot of stuff on like how many people are actually killed by the police, and you know the data from the
Oh
Wall
yeah,
Street Journal,
yeah. That's blown. So that's it's like
it just like blew that up out of the water.
yeah.
Anyway, so Joe watched various things that we did, and he said, "Hey, I'll come out sometime." I'm like, "Dude, come out." Like,
Let me know when he comes.
no, so he came out.
Oh, well, thanks
So
for
we did
letting
a
me
class
know.
together.
Jeez.
Now we did a class together. It was awesome, man. It was really,
You,
really
you
cool.
plan ahead, don't you? Right? Yeah. 11 o'clock. Come be on my 3 o'clock. What were you going to do without me? If I wasn't here, what were you doing?
I'd
You were
be
just going to talk
talking.
about the news and shit?
I don't know. I'd just be talking about anything. Joe, if it was easier, we'd bring you on, man. But it's like it's really hard right now. Yeah.
I hope he agrees with me that we need more police that have had like Sam Richards' class and things like that.
For sure. Now, Joe's one of these guys who's
Well, this is the other thing. Remember the defund? We talked about this last time, the whole defund the police thing. Like, it's
No, but was there? Okay, but how many people were really saying
it doesn't
defund the
matter.
police and get rid
It
of the
doesn't
police?
matter. It's that it got caricatured
Yeah,
and to use it got weaponized
yeah,
against
yeah.
moderate, middle of the road, and left leaning Democrats.
Yeah.
And ended up, because unfortunately in a democracy, it's still about power.
Yeah,
You know,
really is.
and
It's what you can convince people that.
Well, and what I was saying back then all the time was like, because the people I saw doing the work on addiction and mental health were cops.
Yeah.
Because they dealt with it day in and day out. All the police, the diversion stuff, the mental health clinician stuff, at least in Delaware, has come from like we work with a lot of police departments, and it's those guys out there trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
And when they teamed up with the hospital to start putting mental health clinicians, there was pushback at first among some of the rank and file, but the people that were bought into it, that did not come from the academy. That came from the people on the street.
Yeah. Well, listen, when I was working with the police here in Pennsylvania, their idea was, look, man, we got the majority of people just in these conversations, I would work with a whole department, so about 150 different people. But the common sentiment was like, hey, man, go ahead and defund the police. As long as you take that money and put it toward mental health.
Sure.
Because what happened was you took all those services away. you hired more police.
Yep.
And now we have to do all of
Yep.
that. And I went on a ride along. Lori and I went out. We did a ride along.
Good for you.
And we
In the
there were
streets
7
of
calls.
State College, Pennsylvania.
This is not State College, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
No. Yeah, we did. I was 7 calls came in.
Okay.
6 of them were mental health.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
5 of those people he knew who they were.
That's
It's
great.
like, oh, we're going to see Mary.
Yep.
And you're like,
Oh yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts. And you don't until you get in it, you don't understand it. Man.
Yeah, you don't get it.
My syllabus used to say, if Jesus, what did it say? I forget. If you're not confused, you don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Because everybody that knows what's going on is confused.
Yeah.
And anybody that thinks they're like, oh well, it's simple. It's like, nah, dude.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to share the link of the class that Joe is in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Email it to me too, because I don't really hang out on
Oh,
the
yeah.
Search 119 page.
No,
I'm way too busy on the Hooters page.
But yeah, I'll email you that link too.
I've got the times. I just couldn't see it. You had to scroll for that.
No, but going back to the mental health stuff, it's really so bizarre, isn't it, man? So I never knew anyone who was making the argument that we don't need police. I didn't know anyone.
I don't know anybody
except a few.
Like I said, it got
20-year-old
picked up.
students.
It got picked up by right-wing media and right-wing politicians.
Yeah.
And weaponized.
Yeah. And what we saw, you must have seen down in Delaware, but it was poor communities and poor communities of color that were standing out against any defunding of the police, man.
Oh, if the data there, you know who's more likely to call the police when a crime happens to them? Somebody in an inner city area.
Yeah.
Because that's just, they rely on that.
Yeah.
It's easy to be anti-police when you don't need police.
Yeah.
You sit out in your lily white suburb and be like, well, the police, I don't think we need these guys. Yeah, because you ain't getting robbed, bitch.
Yeah, that's like in this town, man. If you don't have a house that abuts up against student housing,
right,
then it's like, man, what's the problem with students, man?
Exactly. And those people that do have those houses are like, we got nuisance crime.
We need more police.
We need more police. Call SWAT in here, man.
Yeah.
But actually, in Delaware now, on the call stuff, you were talking about all the calls you went out on, and it's not just Delaware. This is the next step, I think, is they're putting clinicians in the call centers.
Yeah.
So they're diverting at the source.
Yeah.
So generally, a call comes in, it either goes paramedic, fire, police. So you got EMS, fire, police, right? That's the 3 routings. We're doing a study right now down in Delaware because they've added a 4th, which is mental health clinician.
Okay.
So you can go fire, police, EMS, mental health call. And like you said, there's a lot of mental, Dan's out in the backyard in his underwear screaming at the sky again.
Yeah.
And
who else do you call? You call the police. And there's no. I
learned more in my police management class than anything else at Penn State, because the other thing the guy said was, he said the problem is that the police are who you call when you don't know who to call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit! This is crazy. I call
my neighbor's walking his dog off leash again.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Or there's a naked guy with a gun up the street. Call the police. Right. And they got to deal with whatever shows up. This is turning into a pro, but there's a lot of problems with the police. Let me just point that out.
Yeah, but you are. When I was doing the ride along, for example, like any moment, you're going to go this way or you're going to go this way, and like, damn, man, this distresses.
It's a high stress gig, man. It's a high stress gig.
Man.
Prisons is a high stress gig. Dude, we have had a run of suicides in one of our prisons. Staff, not inmates, staff.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to study that, but somebody needs to.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure it's a high stress. And like, the police are weird in role wise, because on the one hand, they're very much respected and looked up to. Yeah. Right. And on the other hand,
they used to be
they're highly critiqued.
Yeah.
I don't know where the polling data would be on that right now, but I bet it's higher than you think.
Well,
in terms of,
I think in the post George Floyd period, that's when everybody.
It got nasty.
Yeah. But I think it's probably shifting back a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but go ahead. So suicide, same with police, very
Oh,
stressful.
always has been. High. Dude, the mortality shit, substance use,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you look like just the mortality, like the actuarial tables on those
Yeah.
guys, heart disease, just everything, man.
So here's the thing. So I taught in the Benner prison up here last fall,
Good for you.
and
How'd it go?
it went great, man.
How much
I
did
mean,
you
once a
learn? What did
week.
you learn? Because I tell you what, I learned more teaching in a prison
Oh, dude,
than I did on campus. I did like
I just listened, man.
yeah, exactly,
These guys, they were
exactly.
so smart. They were so thoughtful, but they were selected out to be part of this class, right? So this is not. It's like,
Students at Penn State not selected out to be in your class?
yeah, they're selected
There's a
out
whole
too.
funnel in front
There's
of
a lot of
you.
funnel process.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. But even when we used to do work at Rockview, we used to take students in there and work with the lifers.
Yeah, good.
Well, first off, lifers are a select group of people.
Very select.
They're people that have been they're in prison. Pennsylvania, you're never getting out of prison. Life is life. And
Yep.
so after a certain period of time, you either become completely mentally ill or you become quite a thoughtful, upstanding citizen. Okay. And this is your home and you want to take care of your home. And in prisons, people, the lifers are used to bring stability to
Yep.
prisons,
Yep.
man. Like,
Yep.
we need you. We don't have enough guards. We can't pay enough guards. We need you.
Social control is a funny thing because if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Who are your lifers? They're like the really bad of society,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And yet they end up being part of this social control of one of the most screwed up environments.
Essential parts of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Everybody
Long timers, because the young guys.
They get moved around. We need you. We have
Yep.
friends like, listen, man, we need to move you, send you to a different prison.
Yep.
We need your help.
Yep.
It's like, wait, but I don't want to go there because I'm here.
Delaware's
No,
good.
no. We need your help here. We need you to help get this life organization going.
Yep.
We need more help with lifers. We need, this is the
Well,
reality.
the Inside Out class, which I taught.
Okay, so-
what happened?
Okay, so here.
Are we out of
So
time?
no. So we then have an experience with so many really awesome men
Yeah.
who are lifers, and they've
Yeah.
been in a long time,
Yeah.
many of them,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, this is a very fascinating experience. But that was not the experience of prison.
Right.
That was the experience of lifers in prison, lifers who were part of the organization, so they really wanted to build things up, and the ones who got selected out to come meet with us. So it's like, okay, these are the coolest of the cool
Go
guys.
hang out on the intake unit of the city jail, man.
Yeah.
It's a whole different picture.
Yeah. Okay. So for
Uh,
me, these are guys now. I mean, but, back in the day, obviously, there was lots of college courses available to incarcerated
Oh yeah.
people.
I started in college under the Pell Grant program as a prisoner.
Yeah.
I was the last cohort
Oh, really?
before they killed the Pell Grants like the year after.
That
I
was
think
like
94.
Thomas Ridge.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I got out in 93, 94. They killed the Pell Grant programs.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to talk about a life-changing thing. For me, it was starting to go to school.
Yeah.
And you and I have had that conversation.
So you
like,
got
we don't
out,
need to
once you got out of
showed up
prison,
here at Penn State,
it
which
was
was easy for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a gold-plated runway of success in front of me because my dad worked here, all that stuff.
Yeah.
If I would have recidivated, it would have been on me.
Yeah, it would have been. But you weren't doing stuff that it's particularly problematic.
We were stealing everything that wasn't nailed down and selling drugs.
Yeah,
So
okay,
to the
yeah.
police, that was pretty problematic.
Yeah.
In a town like State College, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
we were not popular
Yeah.
among the populace, if
Yeah.
you will. And when they found out what was up, they sent everybody out of the pool.
Yeah.
And rightly, that looking back, it was like, well, yeah, we were causing problems.
Yeah. Of the kids that you hung out with, were you the only one with professional parents?
No, no. As a matter of fact, no, because it's State College, Pennsylvania. So even among my crime cohort, I've actually been doing like a 40-year longitudinal study of people officially, just paying attention to all these guys. Most of them are dead. Many of them have passed.
Yeah.
But no, I can think of a couple professors' kids. And don't kid yourself about some of these farm kids.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
these farms out around here are big businesses.
Yeah.
These are not poor, starving farm kids.
Yeah.
You know, some are, but State College is such a unique little bubble, man. It
Yeah, it
just
really is,
is.
man. Yeah, it
Uh,
really is. All right, so listen, I have one other
Wait, did we figure out the whole woke classes thing?
I think we did.
I don't think we
Yeah.
did, but you know.
Oh, no. Here's a woke thing, right? So this guy here, this veteran, hang on. I'm gonna put this up here just so you can see it. All right. We good? This is the article we're gonna talk about. So this guy, he shows up on Memorial Day and he's at an American Legion Hall in Hudson, Ohio. Okay.
Beautiful
And
Ohio.
he's giving his speech. And he's an old white guy, man. You know, and a lieutenant colonel, old white lieutenant colonel guy. And he's giving his speech and he's talking about, just the various a wide range of factors and forces, on Memorial Day, right? But what he does is he also goes into this little piece about how freed black slaves played a really important role
Yeah.
with fallen soldiers in the Civil War.
Yeah.
The people,
And in World War One, World War Two. I mean, come on.
everything.
Yeah.
No, but this was freed black slaves,
Free
and
blacks,
they
well,
were
yeah, they would, yeah, but-
really
yeah.
celebrating. Saying like, man, freed black slaves were really celebrating, starting this memorializing of Union soldiers after the Civil War, man. Like this is huge. They fought to end slavery.
So who cut the mic?
So who cut the mic was the people who were in charge of organizing the program, and they decided that they didn't want that woke idea to go out there at all. You shouldn't be talking about that. This is Memorial Day. Why are you going to segue into talking about freed black slaves, right? So my thing is, what I want to bounce this off of you. It's like, whoa, man. So the narrative, the anti-woke narrative has gone so far now, so extreme that you can't even say anything about race in any way, shape, or form. You can't even just have a little like 10-sentence segue in my talk about freed black slaves. Why are you talking about black slaves? Why are you talking about slavery? Why are you talking about black people? This is about Memorial Day. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, we have like this, the pendulum swings way over here where all we do is talk about race and
we woke ourselves into fascism.
Now we go way over here, man, and we can't talk about any of it. And now somehow we got to get back to the middle. Yeah.
You know me, I'm a middle guy.
You're a middle guy. I'm a middle guy.
So I know you are. I know you. That's why we.
No, we both are.
That's why we get along. But my first take on this. Racism is alive and well in America.
Yeah.
Alert the fucking New York Times. What? Did
Yeah.
somebody not think this was the case?
Yeah.
Did this ever stop being the case?
Yeah.
Because I think people need to get out of their bubble more.
Yeah.
And go hang out in some different clubs.
Yeah.
And just sit at the end of the bar and listen to the conversation happening down the bar.
Yeah.
Because this doesn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah.
Because these guys are out there.
Yeah. In this little town of Hudson, Ohio.
Yeah, well, they're in New York City too. I got news for you.
Yeah. That's right. In State College,
They're in
Pennsylvania.
State College, Pennsylvania, and they're sure as hell 5 miles out of town.
Okay, but the idea is, it's not what it was. People with certain, what you and I will call racist ideas, are ostracized far more today
yes.
than 30 years ago.
And that's progress.
That's totally
And we need to celebrate that.
Mhm.
But we're not there yet. We're not there. And I don't know that we ever get there.
No, hang on. No, the issue is when I have students, I'll have someone that will say something like, we have not made any progress. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me, man? Go back to my high school. Like, we have made such incredible progress. You don't have to go back 40 years. Like, oh my God, the progress is immense.
Yeah.
So you can't. People make these extremist black and white statements, like we haven't made any progress. No, we have, and we need to celebrate the progress that we've made.
And keep going.
We still see, it still exists.
We have a long way to go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how long of a way to go.
Why?
I
Because
know
we
I
had a
would
black
say we have a
president?
long way
Why?
to go.
Are you going to give me the black president speech?
No. I wouldn't say that we have a long way to go because when you say we have a long way to go, it's
What's 3 times as high? You were talking about weed.
yeah,
How are you
yeah.
going to measure it?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, let's be methodologists for a minute. How are we going to measure the extent of the progress? Can you quantify it?
No, I don't think we
I'm
can.
thinking here because I don't know the answer. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I don't have.
um,
No, here's the reason I don't say we have a long way to go.
okay.
Because it sounds like the narrative that the left has been saying for 60 years. Like the civil rights bill passed, they go to from 1964 to MLK's whatever,
Are we
1964.
less segregated?
We have we have so far to go. It's like that's the language being used. So
Right.
I don't say that today. I don't use that same language. We have a ways to go. I don't know how far to go, but I do know that people with really extreme racist ideas, what we would agree would be racist ideas, are generally not going to be welcome in most middle of the road. If we take the bell curve,
Yeah.
those ideas, someone's going to say something, someone's going to be like, nah, that's not cool, in a different way than 40 years ago.
I think that's absolutely right. I think that's absolutely right. We also just gutted the Voting Rights Act, right? That was the Supreme Court of the United States, supposedly a pretty legitimate institution.
Yeah, but I could make an argument
Please do.
for like, hey, let's rethink how we rethink gerrymandering and these districts and like
We don't have enough time.
but the way we've done that, there's
horrible.
layers
Both
of
sides.
absurdity.
Both sides.
And so like let's just wipe the slate clean with all of it and just start over, man. Maybe we vote by county or something. I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
you can
Whatever it is.
you
right?
can do you can do this is a whole different conversation, but
But you could argue that
is,
we do, dude. I would argue that we got the Voting Rights Act as an act of political power.
Oh,
not
yeah,
an act
yeah,
of-
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
rooted in racism. It's like that's just a secondary and indirect consequence. It's like, yeah, okay, we're gonna do that. But dude, we want power, man. We want more of our people voted into office.
But
And
don't
one
have
way
the
to
people
do
in
that
Baton
is
Rouge, man, who are losing their representatives.
It's just like
It was just a political fight, but
well, whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll do
Although,
whatever
hey, you know
we
what?
need to do.
Here's the deal, though, man. Like fucking those senators down in South Carolina, Republican senators. It's to your point. Republican senators in
Yeah.
South Carolina voted to not
Yeah.
implement the thing that would have killed the one district down there.
Yeah.
So
The one
that's
black district
progress in
Yeah.
South Carolina. It's like really.
Jesse Helms, no, he was in North Carolina. He would've
No,
voted
it's
for that.
who is the guy?
No, but I'm saying Jesse Helms would have voted. He'd have killed that.
And that's progress, right? That's progress.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've made progress. We have, to quote Sam Richards, a ways.
Well,
go.
even that, I don't know.
A very quantifiable term, a ways.
I'm not really sure how it is, but clearly we're not.
So
Trump, like for example, all the stuff that Trump has done doesn't mean that it's not like we've gone back to the 17th century or something. Like I don't know. Even with gutting all the environmental regulations,
right.
that's kind of, if you really look at it, it's irrelevant anyway, because business is already going in that direction.
Well,
It
and
doesn't matter.
and that is what the conservatives, not the right wing nuts, but the conservatives were like, the free market will take care of it.
Yeah.
Coming in with all this regulation is just hampering the people who are trying to do it right.
Yeah.
And the market will reward those who are doing it right. And so that eventually the people that aren't are going to fall by the wayside and the thing will move in the direction you want it to move. I'm not sure how much of that I actually believe, because greed
Well, that's hard.
And back to the, like, I think corporations are notoriously impulsive
Well, this is
and
also
short-sighted.
it's like the tragedy of the commons.
Yeah, right.
All
right,
of these
right.
AI companies, they know, like, dude, we are like headed toward
Dude,
a
I had this
disaster
weird,
now.
I had this weird fucking-
But not one of them can step forward and say, okay, we're going to regulate really hardcore. Because if we regulate, you don't regulate. Like, okay, here we go.
So we just lost Jürgen Habermas, you know that, right?
Wait, what?
Habermas checked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bear with me. His last book was an updating of the public transformation of the private sphere, right? Where he
Yeah.
talked about discourse and the so-called public sphere where people could like have open discourse and the argument over ideas and all that stuff that led to all his shit, right? He updated it to include social media. He didn't have AI in there yet, right? And he said the problem we now have, we went from small clubs and pubs, and there are those that are, you know, you can argue whether that ever actually existed, where you could have dialogue, to a one directional, the network's telling you stuff, where it wasn't dialogue because it was one directional, right? And that's the manufacturing consent, Chomsky, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. All that stuff. And then social media and things brought back the public sphere, but with a lot of
Baggage.
but now anybody can be an author.
Yeah.
Right. Like you and me can sit down, you know, by what authority are we doing this thing right here?
Yeah.
Because Sam Richards has a job at a major university and could afford to go buy a bunch of toys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Other than that, and then you invite some dude that wanted to go have lunch over. So where I'm going is, so in the social media, and we're not even to AI yet, I kind of had this weird epiphany of like everybody has a voice, but there's no way to determine the correct voice, the true voice.
Yeah.
You know, what's true, what's not. We had this conversation a little bit the other day, and I stumbled on the Leviathan in my head, right, where you need some ultimate authority to sit on.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah.
You know, because what we have right now is a war of all against all in ideas.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no way to determine other than popularity.
Yeah.
Right. Clicks and whatnot.
What are the best
What's
ideas?
a good idea?
Yeah.
That's fucking dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
Right.
Man.
So do we enable or allow some kind of a Leviathan? Because like Hobbes's whole thing was like that we need the king because otherwise we're all gonna fucking kill each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe this discourse just run amok. You know, do we have to have some kind of, and I have no idea where that authority comes, where it rests, what it does. But, you know, social media scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I get on some of these pages and I'm just like, what is this, man? You know.
Yeah, dude. I know, man. I know. It's really.
And AI is just going to ratchet that up.
It's coming, man.
Everybody.
I mean, it's here, but you know.
It's so here, and it's not going away.
Have you been using it?
Yeah.
I've been using it to do some amazing things. Man.
You know, I like, you know, I do all kinds.
We take, here's one, and then we're going to have to cut. Right here. I'm going to give you this one. We take the transcript of our class.
Yep.
We run it through AI. We say, hey, we need 10 questions built around them.
Boom.
10 questions that if you watch the class, you'll get it correct. If you don't watch the class, there's no way you'll get it correct. So we want people to get 100% if they watch the class. So make the questions really easy, but then give us wrong answers that are so wrong that there's no way if you watch the class you would pick one of the wrong answers. So we tell it this, right? Boom, boom. We want, here are the criteria. This, and we go, and 2.5 seconds later, boom, there's our 10 questions. And 9 of them
and then you put those out,
and we can use them.
And the kids just put that into an AI and ask the answer?
No, so the idea is, if you don't, for us, attendance is a requirement. You have to come to class, and if you don't come to class, you have to watch the recording of the class.
Okay.
And we have no way to know if you watch the recording of the class. We can't give you 3 questions. If we give you 3 questions, you'll just send the questions to your buddy who also missed the class, and they'll watch it, and you'll watch it, and you'll know the answer to the question. Pretty soon, there'll be a website devoted to the answer on class number 15.
And that's what they're learning in college is how to innovate.
How to innovate. Okay, so don't figure that out.
Right.
In class 15, the
I
answer
know that's
to
not the
three
lesson you're
questions are-
teaching.
No, but what we do is we say like, all right, we need 10 questions or we need 15 questions. So now we have a question bank.
Right.
So you miss the
So
class and I
we
miss
get
the
different
class.
classes. We get
Like,
different questions.
it would take us 3 hours to make that note. Those
Yeah, but
questions.
can't I just copy the question, punch it into an AI, and get the answer?
No, because it happens really fast. Like you can't. It's going to be really difficult because the way we write the question.
No, nothing's foolproof.
And you have to take it in 2 minutes. You got to answer these 3 questions in 2 minutes. So by the time you do that, it's going to be really difficult. First off, you don't have access to the transcript, so you have to get it. We don't release the transcript until after the 1 week of the class.
Oh, okay. So you don't have it.
Yes, you don't have it,
right.
so you can't do that ahead of time and be like, all right, hang on.
Oh, good.
Anyway, so we did. It's amazing, man, and that's only one thing. There are so many things. Oh my God! All right, listen, man, we're gonna go.
Life is good.
Bro, you gotta. We're just gonna set you up at home. All right, you good
We'll see.
to do more of this?
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna give you. Wait, you have a microphone, right?
I have one right here.
No. You have one at home.
I have one right here. There's a little one built into my little Zoom camera.
All right, that's good enough. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We used it the last time.
Oh, we used it the last time.
Yeah, that was my $29 Zoom camera. Technology, baby. It's awesome. This is called progress.
All right, all right, man. By the way, this is Professor Dan O'Connell, research scientist Dan O'Connell.
Something like that.
Are you also a professor? Is that...
I'm listed as an assistant professor on my thing, but I am not tenured.
But you are a full research scientist.
I don't know what the fuck I am.
Yeah.
My title is senior scientist,
Senior scientist.
associate director, assistant. Like, there's like, what do you want me to be this week? Like, if you go into the computer system, there's all these different things listed.
Just whatever it is. And I'm the high priest of sociology.
I'm a dude who studies, crime, law, and justice. It's, because it beats working.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. It beats prison too, man.
Hey.
By the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you didn't have to cook your own meals, but
Prison food sucks.
Yeah, let's not pretend. Man.
Yeah.
All right, so listen, we're going to be out. That's it.
Peace
We're
out.
on our way. Be well, everybody, and we'll be back next week because that's what we do.